And we are live. Welcome to A Nice Place to Brew. I'm Jason.
And I'm George.
Today is October 8th. We do our webcast here on the Facebook and the YouTube channel every Thursday here at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Our YouTube page has all of our past episodes going back to the very beginning of the quarantine. There's plenty of content there if you can't wait till next Thursday, so check us out. We also have a podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all the places you get your podcast from. And we have a website, www.aniceplacetobrew, and can be found on social media at at A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a great week. Welcome, George. And now we'll bring in our guests. We're going to have a full house tonight, so here we go.
Ooh, okay.
We have Paulie.
Paulie.
Hey, welcome, Paulie.
What's up?
And
Dave.
welcome to Dave.
Right.
Good evening to you, sir. How are you?
Doing well. How are you today, Jason?
I'm well, thanks. Welcome back. Great to have you.
Thank you.
I'll introduce, we're all friends here. Dave, I will introduce you to George, who's one of the other co-hosts of A Nice Place to Brew.
Hey, George.
How you doing, Dave?
Doing
Yeah,
well.
I think I
Doing very
was
well.
not able to make it the last time you were here, so sorry about that, but
All right.
good to see you.
How's everybody's week? Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, that's not the first question. Okay. What is everybody drinking tonight?
There you go. That's the more important
I'll
question.
be right back.
Okay.
That's important,
so
Polly.
I am drinking watermelon ring.
Watermelon ring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I like because it's like a thing. It's like a Halloween thing. But
Okay.
because if you look at it, it's like, you know, it's
Halfway.
evil. Yeah. So it's a wheat ale made with watermelon ring candies from Sheets. Our friends over at Hardywood made it. So,
Oh, right on.
yeah.
Okay. What about you,
What about
Dave?
I've got a homebrew Belgian triple.
Oh,
Okay.
Nice.
Speaking my language.
Absolutely. Yeah. Polly?
A wee heavy,
Oh, that sounds delicious.
8.1% wee heavy,
From Route 66.
of course.
All right.
Nice.
I'm actually still at work, so I had to
it's-
keg today.
Okay.
And on that note, I ran a little bit late, so you guys continue on. Let me go finish up and punch out, and then I'll come by and talk to you guys.
You got it.
Okay.
I was going to say,
All
I
right.
didn't recognize the background there.
Yeah, I can't be in the brew house because it's too loud in there. I'm in the back. We have a little overflow room back here that I'm in.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Hold
all
on.
right, I'll be back in a little bit, guys.
Cool.
Cool.
Camera. There we go. Right back to where it started.
I was going to say, no change whatsoever.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying a new beer tonight. And
Okay.
this is and I will cheers to our friends over at Hailstorm.
Hailstorm.
This may be
okay.
the first Hailstorm appearance here on A Nice Place to Brew. I've got a selection here called Haze Concept 003. Hops are Sabro and El Dorado. I can't say I'm familiar with Sabro. So
No, I'm not either.
No.
yeah, I
No,
did
nothing
have
about
dinner
Sabro.
before the show,
Good.
which I know has become increasingly rare in the last couple of weeks. So I think I'm safe taking down an 8% pint here. So
Let's see. Sabro. It's from New Mexico.
okay,
HPC made it, the hop breeding company. Let's see. Oh, Haas was involved too. I'm trying to see if it has any like what it was bred from.
okay. What website are you looking at?
Just WashingtonBeerBlog.com.
Oh,
Just
okay.
Random site.
Big question is, Jason, does it taste good?
Yeah, that is a good point there, Dave.
Well, I just took down the first sip. It was this is different. It's not what I expected. How do I
Different?
describe this?
I was going to say different in what way and how not what you expected.
So with not a lot of New Englands, they have it's always the flavor is often described as kind of a juicy sweetness. Well, this has the juicy elements, but this to me tastes closer to pineapple juice than say like orange juice.
Okay.
And I would say part of that may be a little bit of dryness.
Interesting.
At least something a little bit in that direction. It's good. I enjoyed it. Wow, this is unique. We'll see.
Okay,
See how I feel at the end of the pint.
so I don't know what it's crossbred with, but it's crossbred with Neo Mexicanus, which is that horizontal growing hop.
Okay.
From New Mexico. So it's probably going to have similar aspects to that. It is a 12 to 16% alpha. So
okay.
probably a little bit
Bitter.
more on the bittering side.
Yeah.
And it says imparts distinct tangerine, coconut, tropical fruit, and stone fruit aromas. with a hint
Well,
of
okay. I
cedar.
was
Little bit of
heading the
everything.
right direction with the tropical fruit. Okay.
Tropical
Yeah.
fruit, stone fruit, and coconut, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a hint of cedar, mint, and cream. So it's like this is like a kitchen sink hop, apparently, because everything gets thrown in.
Well, I'll tell you what. It comes through. Like I don't know what the hop schedule was, but they dialed that in so that it's very, very prominent.
I will tell you this watermelon ring, or
Yeah.
sorry, melon ring is it's quite tasty and has quite a bit of watermelon flavor. I'm not sure if that's just the watermelon rings that they threw in, if they just threw in a crap ton of them,
Yeah.
or if if they added like watermelon rind or anything like that to get that. But
So the
Okay.
beer has actual watermelon chunks in it, George.
well,
The
so
one-
what they say is it has 100 pounds of watermelon gummy rings, which is a little snack you can get at a gas station around here, because it's a partnership between Hardywood and Sheetz, which is an
Okay.
East Coast gas station. And so you can only get it at Sheetz. And yeah, so, but yeah, 100 pounds of gummy rings and a 50% wheat beer.
Very interesting. Sounds like a good summer beer.
It is.
does.
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Speaking of summer beers, George has a now famous summer shandy that he's that's become a repeat homebrew batch of his.
Yeah. Lemon lime shandy. I enjoy it quite a bit. In fact, that lemon lime shandy is what is currently sitting on my
Yeah.
Play-Doh keg scale.
Wow, I couldn't have set that up better if I tried. Wow.
No, that was pretty good.
All right, we're doing a technology review here.
Yeah. So, Dave, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's a company called Play-Doh, and they make digital airlocks, which I also have. We talked about it last time, and this completely ridiculous scale that you put your keg on and leave it on, and as you pour beers out, it will tell you how much beer is left in the keg and
Okay.
how much was your last pour, and based on like gravity readings, how many calories that pour was and things. It's totally ridiculous. But that's what this is. So you can see I have about just under half the keg left over. at
But
this
regardless of how ridiculous, it seems certainly worth having.
It,
I think so.
I got it as a birthday present from somebody, and I am gonna
Very
it's gonna
nice.
stay in my kegerator, and it will be nice because up to this point I've been taking the keg out periodically and weighing it with a luggage scale to see how much is in there, and so now I don't have to do that.
And it communicates to your phone.
Yeah, it communicates. The device hooks up to my Wi-Fi and communicates to their cloud system, and then I can pull it up on my phone and see.
Amazing.
So, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Were you really using a luggage scale to weigh your kegs?
Yeah. Why not?
I
Both
never
good-
knew you were doing
If
that.
it works, it works. Why
Those
not?
are both great questions. Were you really using a luggage scale to weigh your kegs? and George's response with the question of why not? Great question all the way around.
I can get behind that.
No, I don't think it's a bad idea, but I mean, I feel like that was like you're going to get great utility out of that because not only not going to have to do that anymore, it's going to feed right to your phone.
Right. Yeah,
Wow.
and it is the same app. I was able to confirm it is the same app that the airlock uses. So I will so I'll be able to see that as soon as I get the airlock up and running too. So
yeah, I do want to come back to that airlock. But
yeah,
Dave, we have a growing saying here on A Nice Place to Brew, and it was posted and it's worth repeating here. Home brewing is as complicated as you want it to be.
Well, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And
I
George
think I'm
likes
the
to make
polar
it
opposite of George in that I have a composition book. So I write my recipes longhand in there with a pen. I do my hop calculations with a pen and a calculator. And I haven't used any software for anything, like figure out my recipes or compute anything. And I'll even go so far as to say, I never even considered putting a keg on like a scale. That's a great idea. I'd always just kind of pick it up and give it a little jiggle and go, it feels like maybe a third is left.
That's about all I've done too. But you know what? I've always been wrong anytime I do that because I always think, okay, I've got like what bottle or two left, and then I start, having the beer gun start flowing. 12 bottles later, and there's still something left in here. I'm like, okay, so
yeah.
I don't know if there's a perfect judge of how much liquid is left in a keg, but I'm not it.
So Dave,
George, does this thing like in your kegerator? Is there like a small pad of sorts that this rests on? So it's like a little flat. I'm picturing something like as thick as like a little thicker than like a manila file folder that has some electrodes in it that allows you to determine the weight of the keg.
You are very close. It is a little bit thicker than that. It's about the thickness of a Frisbee.
Okay.
And what is that? Is that Polly?
That's from Polly. Here, I'll mute him.
Okay. Yeah, let me share this here. Jason, if you can do the honors.
Got it.
So this is the device.
There you go.
And it's about the thickness of a Frisbee, and the keg sits on top of that, and yeah.
That's amazing.
Doc's, there's a place out here in Mokina called Doc's Barbecue. They're well known for all their beer. And they must have this because when you walk in, they have a bunch of video screens and they tell you how much is left in each keg, like on the rail.
If they don't have this, they have something similar. Yeah. And it's really nice because if you do, and I don't know that I ever will, but if you do have multiple, and I'll stop sharing this so you can see it. If you do have multiple, you can see, like, this is the front screen, and you can see the different scales. And then once you tap it, it zooms into a particular one. So
it's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
But Dave, I will say this: I can't tell if what you're doing is more complicated or less complicated than what I'm doing. Because if you're hand calculating all your IBUs and everything, and I'm letting a program do that for me, to me, what you're doing is more complicated.
It depends on your point of view. Yeah. Because what I'll do is I take out a little, when I first get the wort in the pot, I grab a little, like an 8-ounce measuring cup of it. I rest that in a little tub of ice water. It chills, and I put it in my hydrometer thing. I do a hydrometer reading, and I get what my pre-boil gravity is, and then I knock out the calculations based on the alpha acids and utilization that I'll have, and then I pop it in the batch.
All right, Jason, I need a ruling here. Is that more complicated or less complicated than Beersmith?
I think there's an argument both ways.
I
would say, George, it depends on how tech savvy you are. for someone that's tech savvy, what using the software is probably really a straightforward and
Yeah, it's
simple thing to
probably.
do. It's kind of like changing a ceiling fan out or something. If you have the skill set, that's a simple thing. But if you don't, that's really complicated.
I
So
will
it all
tell you
depends.
though, I changed out a ceiling fan recently, and there's a little device in it that would control the light and the fan, so that it could use just one electrical connection instead
Yeah.
of two. And getting that device in there on top of the hook that held it on the ceiling was such a pain in the ass. There was like no clearance whatsoever. Ugh, ceiling fan.
Yeah. That's an analogy. But I've always just done stuff longhand, probably because I started brewing shortly after the invention of fire and right before the invention of the free flowing ballpoint pen. Yeah.
So you've been at it for a while, and they may have gone over this the last time. But what's your style du jour that you like?
I'd say that's subject to time, place, and mood.
Okay.
But if I had to pick, I would say a favorite is, and the key thing is here, well-made. Would be a very well-made Martzen is at the top of the list, and a well-made Saison. Those are up there neck and neck. Yeah. Other things closely behind, love good imperial stouts, lagers, pretty much everything, George. But the
Sure.
well-crafted, and by that I mean, to me, a Martzen to be good has that maltiness, but it's not sweet. It's dry, malty, and refreshing with a little more malt punch than you're going to get in a Pilsner or like a Munich Helles.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's in the bottles now, Dave?
What's in my house? Or
Yeah.
I've got, since we last met, just last Saturday, I bottled a Grisette, which some claim is a fake style.
Grisette.
Yeah.
I need an
was
education on that.
I do
It
too.
was on the list of styles to be added to the next BJCP revision, but it's now been taken off that list. It's a Grisette is a low ABV Saison style beer brewed with about 25 to 30% wheat. And then it's bittered. It's a high bitterness, like 30 IBUs for a beer that's 3.5 or 4% alcohol. And then it's carbonated at like a 3.5 volumes, like up near, you're getting like champagne territory.
Okay.
And the history of it was originally brewed in Belgium for those, I believe, if I say this right, I hope I don't butcher it, the Hainaut district or territory, where late 19th century, early 20th, it was a lot of mining going on. And the miners would get off their shift and want a refreshing, quenching, but low ABV beer, and hence the Grisette.
What's the flavor like?
Saisonish.
Saisonish? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Saisonish with more bitter than a Saison. Like the yeast I used for it used the same yeast I would have used making a Saison.
Okay.
Just,
warmer temperature fermentation?
Yeah, I fermented it at about 80 degrees.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
And the difference is, like, normally in a Saison, I wouldn't have 25 or 30% wheat. And even in this one, just for grins, I tossed in a little bit of malted spelt. Kind of
yeah. So this reminds me of another French style that I think they just called it table beer or something like that. But it was another one that was really low ABV. We're talking like 3.5%.
Yep.
And it was basically a riff on the Saison, kind of like what you're talking about, but I don't think quite as bitter as what you're talking about. But Grisette, that's an interesting thing.
There's a number of, if you were to look up Grisette, Grisette, there's a number of breweries that offer a Grisette.
Okay.
I think if BJCP doesn't add it to their list, you'd enter it as a Saison and put it as the table strength, because there's Saisons, you got table strength, standard, and then high ABV.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Learning
other
new
than
things
that,
already.
Jason, this triple I'm drinking, I bottled about maybe a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Triple was one of George and I's original homebrews.
Yes, it was.
And that's one that we've gone back to together and separately many, many times.
Yeah, if you were to ask me the question, what's your favorite beer style to make and drink? It's the Belgian styles. You
Yeah.
know, I'm a huge fan of Belgian beers. For some reason, I like banana in my beer, and so yeah, we started out with that. It was a really basic triple recipe. It was, I think, pale, a little bit of caramel, and a bunch of sugar
Yep.
to
Yeah.
spin up the ABV a bit, and yeah.
Have
It's
you
We
very
ever
never
had,
basic
we never
recipe.
changed that recipe up all that much.
No, it would be
Maybe one
interesting.
malt or something like that. I mean, we
two. I think it was two, but it would be interesting to go back to.
I mean, we
Have you
could.
ever
I
had-
don't think we ever changed it. I really don't.
have you ever had the good fortune to have Saint Bernardus triple? Because
That is really
Yes.
good.
that's one.
Yes, that is good.
They recently had it on draft at the Bavarian Lodge in Lisle, and I had the good fortune to have some. It's an amazing triple that doesn't get all the pub like Westmalle gets and some of the others, Roquefort, but it's a delicious triple, St. Bernardus triple. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of banana in beer, we've talked about this in past shows, and Dave, I would love to get your take on that. George's next homebrew project is going to be experimental. We're getting into stout season, so he's aiming to make a stout, and he intends to ferment the stout using Belgian yeast,
Cool.
with the thought that what you may be able to create is basically like a chocolate banana flavor.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at like a marriage of kind of the best of both worlds. It's like you've got stout, which is a delicious style, and then you're making a Belgian, which is sort of heaven's form on earth.
Right?
Belgian beer. So
Yeah.
I see it as that's like a win-win combination, George.
It's a win-win-win right
You're
there.
on the
Yeah.
same page there. Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Back to the triple. So it was Pilsen, Cara 8, and candy sugar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. You know, I might pick up some banana extract just in case I need to add some after fermentation is done, in case it's not banana-y enough.
Banana-y enough.
Wow.
You know what this takes me back to, George? You giving me crap for not having a dark enough stout, so we dunk pale chocolate in.
I wasn't giving you crap.
Yes, you did.
Was I? I might have. I do remember giving you crap
just in case,
afterwards.
I need banana, and if I don't have enough banana, by God, I'm adding extract.
What I do remember is giving you crap afterwards, because I definitely put in the brewer's notes, added steeped pale chocolate malt because it wasn't dark enough for Jason.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is a repeat of that. You're-
Okay, fair enough.
How you doing, Paulie?
Good. Just finally done with everything and punched out, and my boots are off.
This
So
is your first full week at the brewery. Is that correct?
second.
Second full week.
Yeah, I've been.
Okay.
Pretty much. I have not had a day off since a week ago Sunday.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Between
Okay.
here and Brew and Grow.
Okay.
And it's kind of funny. I just finally made a decision, and I'm gonna say this now. If anybody's watching, anybody would like a part-time job working at Brew and Grow for a day or two, go take it, because I want to do it, but my mentality, and I don't know if it's gonna handle it. I haven't had a day off in going on 14 days. So
Hey, well,
The
do
world
what you gotta do.
famous Brew and Grow in Bolingbrook, Illinois might
Yeah.
lose Paulie.
no,
They might.
well, but hold on. But you plan on staying, because you have a 2 day a week schedule right now, and you're going to go down to one.
probably.
Okay, so Paulie's
Okay.
still flying the flag of the world famous Brew and Grow in Bolingbrook, Illinois. Promo code Jason. Ollie, I'm so tempted to raise my hand and say, "Yeah, I'll do it. One day a week, sign me up."
Yeah, it's gonna be a Monday though, because I really need to be here on a Monday, because if I can get Monday off, I have 2 turns to do. I just emptied a fermenter today. Tomorrow I'm gonna clean it and sanitize it, and then I'm brewing as soon as I can get back-to-back brew days, because I got one of our staples is they're down to 2 kegs, so it's gonna run out, and I need to get it brewed right now.
Jason, just tell your company you're doing market research.
I would love to say that would be an acceptable response, but I somehow think it would not be.
I'm retired. I could use a 1 or 2 day a week gig, Paulie.
Talk to Mike, Dave. I was thinking about that today, because I remember when they were looking for help, this was right before you retired, and you were thinking about doing it. And I couldn't think of anybody better to handle the other side of the store than you. You know, because you're very knowledgeable about everything, and that's what they need there. And really, the discount is well worth it. I mean,
yeah, that's
30% off anything in the store, as long as it's not like Blickman stuff.
Wow.
So yeah.
All right.
Like I was like I can get a sack of Maris Otter for like $50 out the door.
That's awesome.
Wow. All right.
Maybe I'm selling too many perks of it.
Oh man.
So tell us about the life of now a professional brewer.
Well, it's very long, and it's taking a dive. I love my company. I love the people I work for. My owners are awesome. All the bartenders are awesome. You know, I kind of came into something that was unstructured, so now I'm putting a structure to it with myself. And you know, now I have a schedule. I know exactly what I do, and I know what I got to do tomorrow. You know, like tomorrow's cleaning, or I got to dry hop something. I got to clean the fermenter, and then I got to do inventory.
Okay.
So I was tempted to say, can you take us through what a day looks like? But probably no 2 days are alike.
Okay. So the day is okay. I know what I need to do that day. I know what I didn't get done the night before, which might be something small. Like today, I was supposed to yeast off last night, but I didn't get done till like 7:00, and clean 15 kegs, humping those around all the place. I was tired, so I just decided to yeast off this afternoon. I'm gonna dry hop the New England, but usually my day consists of coming in, punching in, checking the emails, making orders. You know, it's kind of cool because I am now part of 2 guilds now, the Joliet Brewers Guild and the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild.
Nice.
Fancy. So, yeah, I'm all fancy now. And I get to I gotta check and see what's going on. You know, I'm in the middle of I've been given tasks that I got to do, like our CO2 company. They're not happy with, so I'm trying to convert them into, because what we do is we do all cylinders, and I'm trying to talk them into buying a bulk tank for us. So then I don't have to worry about running out of CO2. I thought I was going to run out of CO2 today until I called the guy, and he's like, "Hey, we got a guy in Shanahan coming right by there." I'm like, "All right, send him. We need it." So it's fun. It's a learning experience. You know, I knew it was a lot of work, but I know it's this much. But I guess I did, or I wouldn't have taken it. So it's a lot of fun. I love it. A small little 3-barrel system. I'm slowly, but every day I'm getting more and more confident. Sunday I was a hot mess. I had a few friends come in and say, "You need to calm down." I'm like, "I will later." But you know, I just put my first beer that I had. I was in charge of carving and kegging today. That's on right now, which is a porter. So, I mean, I guess I'll finally calm down once I finally have a beer that I brewed 100%. And even if it's not my recipe, it's a beer that's brewed 100% by me, and it's on, and the masses like it. Because right now, you know, it's always easy to take care. You get criticism from your friends because they're always going to tell you it's good. these people don't know me. And so now I'm getting true criticism from the masses. So,
hey, Polly, send it to us. We'll give you the real lowdown,
oh yeah, I'll figure out a way to get some snow globes sent out.
Okay. All right, good.
What's been the most difficult moment so far in this new role?
Learning an electric brew system.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really the biggest part.
You haven't
I get
broken
that.
anything yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because when I filled up our hot liquor tank this evening, right when I was done, because I know I need hot water for tomorrow. And, there is no check valves or anything. And it's like, you got to watch it. And 2 times in a row now, I'm hearing water drip and there's water running down the side of my hot liquor tank. I'm like, oh, no, I got to clean that up. And so I drained off a little bit this morning or earlier today. But once I turned on the heating element, it started expanding and coming down again. And that's when I was like, oh, no, it's 6 o'clock. I got to come say hi to these guys. So I actually had to go clean up my mess and punch out and kick the work boots off and put the flip-flops on. And now I'm here to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
So,
Dave, you had a question, I think, right?
I forgot.
Okay, fair enough.
It was like I said, I'm retired. It was in the forefront of my brain, and I started wanting to ask it, and then Jason slipped something in, and then I was listening to Paulie's response, and I completely forgot what I was wanting to ask, so it couldn't have been anything that important.
We do that all the time.
Of course.
although I do have something that's kind of funny. I know Jason will appreciate this. We have a fellow member who's in the Illinois National Guard getting deployed to Germany for a year. Our former or the current home brewer of the year from the JBG, and he dropped this thing off so I can bring it to the rightful owner next year. Oh.
Wow.
I didn't know we had that.
Yeah,
The brewer of the
Kevin
year has
bought
a
it last
championship
year.
belt?
It is a heavyweight championship belt. Yeah, it's going to get passed on. So that's an incentive to become the home brewer of the year from the JBG.
That may be the best selling point, to be heavily
Right?
participating in our competitions. That
I kind of want to send bottles in now.
exactly. Yeah.
So tell me, Paulie, what do you have to do to win home brewer of the year in the club?
So our club, we're on a point system. You get so many points for when you place in our local competitions. And then there's a clause if you get a medal from per se Brixies or you're like Charlie or Drunk Monk, you get an extra point. So that's extra incentive to join all the local homebrew clubs too,
Okay.
or competitions. So it's just a tally of points.
We have 4 to 6 of our own club competitions each year, and they're usually style specific or theme specific.
Yeah.
Like this year we did an IPA competition, and we've also done a cereal beer series where you'll randomly select one breakfast cereal, and then you have to make one beer just to simulate the flavor of that cereal. So that one's always a good time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, just you follow along with those. If you participate, if you win, then those points add up, and at the end of the year, you can walk away with a championship belt.
Yeah, and then until Polly comes in with the steel chair, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I am in wrestling country. I was half tempted to set up around the brew house and just taunt everybody in the club until it's taken from my brew house.
Do you have a bell? Like a ring the bell moment. Ding, ding, ding.
I should. I'll figure out a way. I will figure out a way. My brew house is actually it's slowly but surely becoming mine. I put my first decoration up in it. Actually, my very first day by myself.
Grateful Dead theme.
It has to be.
No.
No.
No?
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I was totally certain of that.
I was too. I was 100% certain of that.
Well, that's what the poor people in the bar are listening to right now, because I got full control of the music while I'm here.
Nice.
The owners come in and I get here, we don't open till 4. I come in around 9, 10 o'clock, and it's beautiful. I get to make my hours up. I can come and go as I please, as long as I get done what needs to get done.
Right.
So, like if
And
I
you
go
get
out the
to play-
night before,
Getting to
What?
play your own music is certainly a good perk there, Paulie.
Absolutely.
oh yeah, it was funny because I think when I warned the owners the other day about the Dancing Brewer, one of them came around the corner because like the space that I'm in, it's the old Nelson Furniture place. Which Nelson Furniture's been in Wilmington for like 40 or 50 years, and it's a huge building. And they cut put storefronts in the front of it, so the brew house is there. And there's a back door to where I walk out the back. I come into the furniture place. I can go to the wine bar. I can go to the food place, and come and go. And that's where the owners do. And the other day, I was sitting there and I'm bobbing my head to something, and I hear the door close, and I'm not thinking anything of it. And the owners start laughing at me. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You told me you were dancing." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you. Like, used to it. This is nothing new."
Polly, I was driving along and I found a window decal that I need to get you. It's I'll find it for you, buddy, and send it to you. It's the
Okay.
state of Virginia outline with the
Uh-huh.
Grateful Dead, embossed
Lightning
on
bolt?
it. The lightning bolt embossed on it.
Yeah, they actually have those for every state. Every state has.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I figure you of all people should have like a map of just those stickers, just like of the 50 states.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
No, but the very first decoration, I got a little wood carving of a truck. My buddy that
okay.
That's perfect too.
my buddy that made me a frame when I got that silver at Charlie Orr last year. He actually made a frame out of a golden promise bag for the mat, and then used barrel staves for the frame and made like a shadow box of it. And then he was bored and just hand carved me a little truck. So it's sitting on my control panel right now. It's the first one.
Okay.
That's very appropriate. Polly's truck is the first decoration in the brewery.
Of course, even though Paul's truck won't be the first beer here.
Won't be for first beer, but still very fitting.
So,
Yeah.
Paulie, what's going to be the first beer that's entirely your creation that they're going to serve up?
I believe they told me to do a West Coast because we were looking at what we have in the tanks and what we have on, and it was kind of funny because the owner Tina, she said when I was talking to her via text, she's like, "Hey, we need to do a brown next." I'm like, "Perfect, new brown in town. That's what I'm going to do." And then I got talking to the owner the other day, and I like, "Hey, Tina told me to do this," and he's like, "Well, we got a porter, we got this wee heavy on. I have a heavy stout grain in the back." So he wants a West Coast. So now I'm actually going out of my wheelhouse. I have not made a West Coast IPA in like 10 years. The whole piney, dark. So, I'm not used to heavy bittering. You put an ounce or an ounce and a half in the bittering on a 5-gallon batch instead of a half ounce like I like to do. So, and I'm even going with the old. I think I'm gonna go with all the C's. I'm gonna, all the hops are gonna be like Centennial and Chinook and all those piney things. So it'll be good.
Okay.
So that'll be the first creation. But then once we need a darker beer because we always want to have at least 2 dark beers on. I get not having a porter and a brown at the same time. They're very similar. So once those go, then I'll do a porter. Hopefully we'll get it this one. We'll see.
If I were to fathom a guess, I think George would lobby for a Belgian Dark Strong or a Belgian Double if you're going to put something
I
dark
would always
in.
lobby for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually going to do a Saison.
Or a quad.
Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking about doing
yeah.
a triple because I got a friend of mine who's a musician, and he came over to brew one day with us, and he's a sax player too, and so I'm gonna do the first Saison. We're gonna call it the sax solo, and then when I do a Belgian triple, I'm gonna do call it the sexy sax solo. 3 S's.
I'm out.
All
I'll
right.
be back.
Go for it.
All right.
But so yeah, things are good here. I've been first couple weeks. I was a hot mess. I really was. Anxiety, nervousness. I mean, you're making a huge jump from, being a plumber to being a brewer, and it's no longer my hobby now. Now it's my career.
Now it's your profession. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. It's a big change.
Oh yeah, it is. You know, on brew days, I'm used to cracking a beer at like mash in, and now I can't be doing that. So
I know, like over at Imperial Oak, I know the 3 brewers, and all of them, shortly after they became the brewers there, they unloaded all their homebrew equipment. They brought it to club meetings, pawned it off to people because they're like, now that I do this during the day, I don't want to do it on a weekend or when I have spare time.
Oh,
So they kind of
boo.
lost the homebrew part of it.
yeah, I
I've had
don't want to do that.
I've had conversations with other pro brewers that are part of the JBG, and they have similar stories, or at least like the homebrew hobby subsided once they started brewing professionally.
Oh.
But they all got together this was just within the last few months, and they all just had these nostalgic feelings for just how much fun they had homebrewing,
Yeah.
and they longed for those days of just having having a homebrew system that you could just make something small on, and that was that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'll say the with few exception, the professional brewers we've had on this show have echoed that sentiment as well, as that they really
Well,
either miss or are nostalgic for their homebrew days.
there's so many things that folks don't anticipate or fully appreciate part of the professional side. Like Paulie, the one guy that I know at Imperial Oak, most of his time isn't spent brewing anymore. He takes care of pricing out like hop futures and getting the inventory up, and then anticipating in their fermenters, what do we have to get in next? What tap's going to run dry? What do we want to replace it? And all the logistics and timing is most of his. That's what most of his day is now, and he very rarely actually brews. It's more of the organization and strategy for the brewery.
Purchasing and inventory control. That's his.
Yes.
That's his job. Yeah, that makes a lot of
That's
sense.
a job in itself. I mean, luckily, the system I'm on is small enough to where I'm doing all of that. I'm anticipating what's selling out. I'm the one telling, saying, hey, we need to brew this. Although I get help from the owners, and they're great. Like the other day, I had a note laying on the table on my desk, and saying, hey, our reds, we only have 2.5 kegs left. You might want to brew that. I already planned on brewing a stout, doing 2 turns of it, putting it in a big fermenter. Well, now that's getting pushed back, and I'm doing this red, which actually the grain's supposed to be here tomorrow morning from it. And now I get all rain. I can go find wherever hops I want. I got whatever. I can do whatever I want here, and I never thought I'd have this much freedom as a brewer.
Nice.
I figured I'd be going to like something corporate where, there's a protocol. No, I'm the one making the protocol for this place.
Yeah.
Huh. So, okay, so I switched it up to a different beer, to another local brewery called Iron Pipe Ale Works. I'm a Mug Club member at this place too. And this beer is called Sassenach, and it is a red ale, deep red, amber color, and malt forward flavors, which I can attest is absolutely true.
That looks
But
fantastic.
I said, because Dave, they have a grisette on.
Do they?
Yeah, they call it Grisette Adams, and it's they call it an easy drinking, light and dry, and with enough pepper and citrus to keep you coming back for more. So I've not tried it, but I'm gonna have to.
That sounds like a decent description.
Pepper
Yeah.
and citrus. Yeah.
Well, that would probably come from the Saison yeast.
The Cezanne, yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
You get that peppery, you can get citrus like lemon and stuff from the Saison yeast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also got I got a 4-pack from there of these guys, and I got a Betty Whitt, named after one of the most badass ladies ever to live, and the Sassenach. I got Boba Fest, which is their fest beer, and Wake and Shake, which feels appropriate with Polly here. Wake and Shake is a deep brown chocolate milk porter with chocolate and roasted malts and 35 pounds of lactose sugar and 10 pounds of premium chocolate.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to trying that one.
I
And if it's
would-
any good, I will send it to you, Jason.
Is it ABV on that? How high is it?
Let's see. ABV 5.8.
Okay. All right. So not an imperial.
No.
Oh. I think that beer is going to be sweeter than sweet.
I
Yeah.
think it is going to be sweet.
I really do. Like maybe even over the top.
Okay. If
I would
it's
love
not,
to be wrong though.
if it's not, I'll send it to you.
If it's balanced out, please, I'll be glad to drink it.
Okay.
I was kind of hoping you would say it would be 7.5%, 8%, because even if it was overly sweet, then at least the alcohol would be enough to balance it.
Would balance it a bit. Yeah, I know, but no. So, but yeah, Iron Pipe is right down inside Orange Town. It's too small to call it a city, and which is and
Is the official city? Is it Orange? Where the brewery is, or is it one of the?
Yeah. No, it's definitely right downtown Orange.
Okay.
But Orange itself is definitely a town. It's not.
I
a
remember.
city.
Yep.
Yeah. I live in a very small town, Dave.
Okay.
Actually, what's the population in your town, George?
Technically, the only population you have for my area is the county, which is 30,000 in the whole county, which is pretty sizable.
But you don't live in a owners association or something. You're not like in a structured village or town or something like that.
Yeah, no, we fall under the county, and we have like a postal town that we have, but that's just for the post office. But yeah, we fall under the county, so it's county sheriff and all that stuff for us. So
Okay.
yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to derail I saw Grisette, and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
So steering this back into homebrewing for a second, Paulie, do you see yourself doing that? Is this is the homebrewing going to veer by the wayside?
I don't think so, because, I got Uncle Rick and Randy, my apprentices that I gotta, I feel like I'm abandoning them. I helped them build that beautiful rig that they have to brew on. And, if I ever get a day off, I'll go.
Webcast that's devoted to homebrewing also. You can't.
Yeah, and Paulie,
Yeah.
if you're not going to be homebrewing, you're no longer a semi-professional.
Yeah.
right.
No pressure, nothing. No pressure.
I mean, I could go back. I'll go back in and sit and drink with the regulars. No. Through your webcast.
Come on, man. We're seen by tens of people a week. Tens of people.
Ooh. Ollie with a sharp uppercut. Well done.
Yeah, no kidding. Body blow. Yeah.
So I'm still going to keep my equipment. I built all my equipment.
Yeah.
My dream is, if I can build this place out big, I'll bring my equipment and display it. You go to those breweries where they have their homebrew equipment on display. I have no room in my brew house to do that, or my tap room or anything. So if we expand, we can consider that.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard of some breweries having. I mean, I was talking to the owners. They have a homebrew competition here every year. Couldn't have it this year, COVID.
Okay.
But they embrace the home brewers.
Okay.
A lot of the regulars that I talk to are home brewers, and we talk home brewing with them. I had a couple of regulars ask me questions about like Star Sand today. It's like, I've had it forever. I'm like, is it sealed? Yeah, it's probably fine. Open? Get rid of it.
Yeah. That's the right advice.
I'm never going to forget my roots. And if this don't work out, it's not like I'm gonna. Okay, if it's don't work out here, not gonna not brew anymore. I couldn't make it professionally. I'm done.
Yeah.
Done brewing. No, I can't. And actually, I have. Speaking of, I have one batch of homebrew at home that I've been neglecting for the past couple of weeks. I need to do and get in a keg and carbonate. My blackberry wheat. that I used to do. You know, and it's kind of funny. I was looking at some notes that was left behind from my predecessor, and I don't know when the notes were being made, but like on those notes, it was like parts for making a spunding valve. And I remember saying during my interview when we were drinking the Oktoberfest that we use a spunding valve, blah 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 blah. So I'm almost wondering if I piqued some interest in this guy's head to try and do it too.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
You know, it's like I feel sorry for these two owners because they got guys that came from one place and then they moved on to a bigger and better place. Like one guy's at Moore and the other guy's at Hailstorm now. You know?
That happens.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
There
we
you
got
go.
what are we drinking? 003? What is that?
Yeah. So Haze Concept is the title on it, and it's using Sabro and El Dorado hops.
Okay.
And Sabro, we looked up at a point that you had stepped away, and it's a tropical fruit hop.
Okay.
And wow.
Southern Hemisphere?
What's that?
Is it Southern Hemisphere or is it Northern Hemisphere?
It's off of Neo Mexicalis, so it's Northern Hemisphere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have all those New Zealand hops that everyone's like when they first started hitting the market.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Crazy over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, and then what all the pot growers in the United States are doing, we're getting new strains of hops every other year. So. Well, you know,
So Dave, what's next on the home brewing docket for you?
I've got a oatmeal stout that I'm ready to crash.
Okay.
And then after that, next one might be a Pilsner, Czech Pilsner. And then in December, I do a barley wine every year. So I'm hoping to do a Pilsner during November and then barley wine in December.
A barley. I've never done a barley wine. It's on my list.
Yeah.
Have you done it before, the barley wine?
I do barley wines annually. I just retired from teaching high school, George, and I always had winter break, like during December. And my birthday is in December, and this will be my 12th year in a row I brew a barley wine on my birthday.
Okay.
And I go 1 year as American, then English, American, English, and alternate. Now I've got, and I don't drink a lot of it, so I have bottles from a decade ago, about a half dozen yet, and 9 years, 8 years. So if I have friends over, we can do these vertical, tastings, break out like a decade worth of barley wines.
Nice.
This year, we're on the docket. It's going to be an American this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any suggestions for a first-time barley wine maker?
Lots and lots and lots of yeast.
Lots of
Okay.
I mean, I think on the last time I was on, I talked about this, that I do for 1 5-gallon batch, I do 2 4-gallon starters. And I do this
gallon.
Yeah.
What kind of original gravity are you working with on these?
My high has been 1.128.
Okay.
And that finished it finished all the way down at 022. So it calculated out at like 15.8% alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then usually I try to hit like 1.12 or right around there.
So are you doing that all off of grains or are you supplementing with sugar and things?
If I really miss my mark, I'll put in some X-Light or light malt extract, dry malt extract. I like using with my Englishes, the last 2 English batches I've put in a single pouch of D45 Belgian candy syrup. Because that'll ferment out, but it adds in like toffee-ish kind of flavors, which go really well in the English barley wine style. So it's not a typical addition to an English barley wine, but the results I've gotten with the 2 I've done that way, I like it a lot.
Okay.
And then one before that, I put some black I think if I say this right, treacle. It's an English black syrup that's highly fermentable. It's kind of looks like molasses, but it's not molasses. Black treacle. And that gives it a kind of a more of a, you get more of your pruny and fig flavors and darker, not roast flavors, but darker stone fruit kind of things come through with that. But I would say, George, lots and lots of yeast.
Okay.
When I say 2 4-gallon starters, the thing is, like a barley wine day, the amount of grain you're using is a lot. Everything takes longer, so it's a real long brew day.
Are you
And when I was
boiling for a real long time?
pardon me, Jason?
Are you boiling for a real long time?
Before I learned how to do it better, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I had one. Well, the thing I do now, as crazy as it sounds, I do a no sparge technique. Like last year with my English, it was like 42 pounds of grain for a 5-gallon batch.
Oh
That
my
is
God.
not as crazy as you would think, because
And the
George
reason,
and I have done that too.
the
We
reason
have,
I
but
do a
that's
no sparge is that when I sparged, I ended up with 10 or 12 gallons plus of liquid. So I had to do a 4 or 5 hour boil
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
get it down to where I wanted it. It's like, well, I don't want to spend 4 or 5 hours boiling.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I do a no sparge. I get the high concentration of sugars, but not the volume. So I can get by with an hour and a half to 2 hour boil.
Yeah.
And then each of the last 3 years when I've done that, I have someone else in my homebrew club that comes over and they collect, I do a sparge, and they take that and make another beer with it.
Yeah. There's enough sugars left
Yeah.
in those. You
Oh,
totally
boy.
could.
Oh yeah. They make like a 1.055 beer with the second runnings.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
And
Yeah.
and that's not all going to waste. But the big thing is the amount of yeast. The reason I do 2 4-gallon starters, I put them in a 6.5-gallon carboys, and then I just split the cool wort into each of those 6.5-gallon carboys because the fermentation is so violent. When I was doing it all in one carboy, I'd burp out like a gallon of my beer during the ferment.
Okay.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was like, the brew day's too long, and I busted my butt too hard to lose a gallon before I even bottle it. So I split it into the 2 separate 6.5-gallon carboys. And even with that, I need a blow-off tube on it. It's made it's all the way up.
Oh yeah.
And
That
then
gravity,
when it's
absolutely.
done, I combine them and do a blending, and then crash it, chill it, and then carb it up.
Okay. Now I'm officially scared to make to make the barley wine, but I'm still intrigued.
No, it's a
You know
wonder.
what
I
you're
love it.
getting into.
It's a wonderful process, a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about this year, I converted my system over to a Herms system, Dave. So I have constant recirculation for
nice.
my beer, and so I wonder, if that would help with being able to pull more of those sugars out, because you're doing a single infusion, just let it sit and drain it out, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm wondering if maybe recirculating that, if I might be able to get more of that out of there at that higher level. But so with a 40-pound grain bill, what kind of a mash tun are you working with?
I had a 2 10-gallon Gatorades. I borrowed a 10-gallon
Two
from
10-gallon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just, I struck them about a half hour apart so that I could drain one and have time to attend to the other one.
Okay.
But I borrowed one from someone in my club, another 10-gallon Gatorade container.
Right.
Yeah. So it's good being in a club.
Yeah.
I used to borrow my neighbor right across the street from me. He just moved to Florida. I used to borrow his stuff. He was a home brewer. He'd come over and help me with my barley wine brew days, and I'd borrow his mash tun and work it that way. So they're a blast. I love making them, George.
Okay.
Love making them.
I'll have to give it a shot.
Now, being that you like Belgians, I'm going to suggest something for you.
Okay.
I made a beer. This would have been, let's see, it got to nationals at Portland, which would have been 2018. I made a Belgian quintuple.
Quintuple.
Yeah, quintuple.
Okay.
It's I started out with like a triple recipe, and I'd read that if you add sugar during the fermentation, you can drive up your ABV. And I wanted to see, well, how far can I go? So
He's a madman.
24 hours into the ferment, I boiled 12 ounces of Belgian rock candy sugar in a pint of water, let it cool, and dumped it in the fermenter. And then the fermentation got all violent again. And then the next day, I did it with another 12 ounces. And then I did another 12 ounces. And I got to 4 or 5 additions like that. And then the last one, it really didn't froth up anymore. And I thought, I'm at my end. And when I calculated out what the gravity would be, it came out to 1.120 with the sugar additions. And it finished, though, at 0.14.
Wait, 0.14?
Yeah, from a 1.12 original. It went all the way to 0.14. And this is so it calculated out like 15.6% alcohol.
Right.
And yeah, so it went because it had that the Belgian 3787 in it, the Trappist high gravity white in there.
Yeah.
And it kept chewing it up. And then I kegged it and carved it with a high volume of like carbonation. And it came out wonderfully. It's kind of like a pale, I call it a quintuple because it's not a quad. It's not dark. And it's higher ABV than a quad. It's a color of like a triple, but it's 15.6% alcohol. So it's kind of like a Belgian pale barley wine. So I just called it a quintuple. And it did really well. It did fabulously at Drunk Monk, another competition. It got to nationals, and it was a good beer. I still have a couple bottles.
Is there a BJCP category for a quintuple?
It was entered in the experimental
absolutely
category.
not. No.
Experimental.
Yeah, experimental.
So, all right. I am by no means Jewish, but I have found my rabbi. Holy crap, dude. That is crazy.
And the thing, here's the best part about it, George. It worked. It came out. It made a great beer. It's pale like a triple, 15.6% ABV. You know, if we had a chance, the four of us, to get together and like actually have beers, I'd bring one. You could try one, George. I still have one.
Yeah. Well, as soon as we're able to like travel around the country again, one of my first trips is going to be out to Chicago.
Yeah.
It's been too long. So we'll have to get together and do that.
Absolutely.
But if you like Belgians, the quintuple.
Okay. All right. I'm in.
Well, like your barley wines, I would think that's a beer that's going to age extremely well.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, there's too much alcohol for anything
That's
to
my
grow.
point. Yes. Yeah. It's going to stay the test of time because of that.
Well, my basement has a unique feature in that we have a fireplace in our living room, but the basement foundation, the fireplace is like poured into the foundation. So there's this nook in our basement that is the exact depth of a case box lengthwise, and it's 4 case boxes wide. And I was able to put 8 shelves in that nook in the cement wall of my basement. So I have 32 cases of beer there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there's 32 cases there right now, but the top shelves, you can't see it here, but I'm 6'6". And the top 2 shelves are up there because the basement ceiling is like 9.5 feet high. I put all the barley wines and those big ABV ones up on those top 2 shelves, and I only pull them out, once, twice a year and throw a couple bottles in the fridge if I want it. And so those sit there a long time. Now at the low levels, like right in front of me, that's where my cream ales are and stuff like that have a high turnover, my Pilsners. But the big guys, they stay way up on top where you don't grab them very often.
So in talking earlier, it sounded like you do some kegging too, right?
I only do the kegging to put things in bottles. I don't have a kegerator set up.
Okay, so you keg it and then you bottle from the keg.
Right. I found the first 4 barley wines I did in my decade plus sequence, I tried naturally carbonating them, and they all came out very low carbonation levels because the yeast just can't hack it in that level of alcohol. So I started kegging just so that I could get my high ABV beers to have a proper level of carbonation.
Okay.
So I carb them up in that. And plus, I don't want a 15.6% beer on draft. But
Why
actually,
not?
that would be a good thing because then I could pour like a 6-inch or a 6-ounce hit of it instead of opening a bottle. But
Right. Yeah.
um,
Get a little sampler glass of it, you
yes,
know?
Right.
Yeah.
but I do like the big ABV beers. They have their own spot in my heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I get
Dave,
that.
I remember hearing that you are you still working on your little barrel project that you had forever?
My personal one or the club one?
Didn't you have a personal one?
Yeah.
Yeah. You still work? You
No,
still turning that around?
what Paul is referring to is this would be 6 years ago now. I got 3 5-gallon whiskey barrels from Journeyman in Michigan,
Nice.
Journeyman Distillery. And 2 friends of mine and I brewed up batches. In the first fill, we all made an imperial stout and we put it into whiskey barrels. The thing about a 5-gallon barrel, though, is you got to pull it out after like 6 or 8 weeks because the smaller volume to surface area ratio of the whiskey goes into the beer much more rapidly than in, say, a 50-gallon barrel.
Yeah.
Um,
That does
and
make
then
sense.
after that, we each took a barrel, the 3 of us, and took it to our own homes and then did our own second and third fills. My second fill, I did a robust porter, and that came out great. And the third fill, I did, George, a Belgian double. And it got kind of the whiskey aroma, but it didn't really get much into the flavor because I think most of the whiskey had been pulled out of the barrel by then.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put like a half gallon of whatever was on the bottom shelf at Osco into the barrel and like spun it around every day. And then I sold the barrel to someone for $60.
So,
Okay.
did you do any whiskey or liqueur infusions before the second and third fills?
I did not. I just, Jason, I had the other batches ready to go. So I emptied the barrel and then within a minute was filling it with the next batch.
Oh, wow.
Just put it
Okay.
right in.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Those barrels, when they sit idle, that's an opportunity for infection and also for developing leaks in the
If they dry out,
wood
right?
stage
Yeah.
of the barrel. Right.
Well,
Right.
there's an obvious oxygen factor, which I think you took into account by filling it right away, and that makes perfect sense. So,
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. That was a little
Well.
personal project. Our club just did one where we had 2 53-gallon Four Roses bourbon barrels. And
Nice.
it stayed. We had it it was about a 3-year process of deciding we wanted to do it, getting the barrels, coming up with a recipe, filling the barrels after everyone brewed their share. And then it stayed in the barrels 13 months. And then we drained it. And good thing we drained it February 23rd, right before all the lockdown for COVID. And then everyone took their shares home and carved them up. And I bottled mine and it came out fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on doing a barrel project with the guild right now, the Brewers Guild, JBG. We're actually working on the recipe. Jason, are you in on that or no?
no.
You want to get in on it? Because I have a spot. I mean, when we can collaborate together and get in on it.
Let's talk offline.
All right, for sure.
I'm going to just make one suggestion to you, Paulie.
Yeah.
That when we did ours in the club, we had 2 53-gallon barrels. So that was 22 shares, 5 gallons a share. And when we filled the barrels, everyone brought their share and we used the little thief thing for like hydrometer readings. And we took a sample out of everyone's batch and then passed it around and tasted it. And we had one batch that didn't pass muster. It tasted infected. And we had to say, we can't put it in. You want to make sure you don't put anything into a group barrel like that might have a hint of infection.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of group projects fall apart.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember we actually rejected a few in the Main Street Homebrewers Guild project that we suspected were infected. Do you remember that, Jason?
I remember the project. I don't remember any beers being turned away.
I think there was a few.
You might be right. I just don't remember.
We tried them before we put them in, and I think there was one or two that we kind of turned away because there was something off.
Yeah, we had 1 out of 22 that definitely it was off. It tasted like it might have had a little bread in it, and the brewer agreed. He said, I thought it tasted a little funny, and we had 6 or 8 people tasting it, all saying, "Yeah, this one's got it. We can't go in."
Mhm.
Yeah.
We do that same thing because this isn't the first time we've done a barrel project with JBG. It's the first time in years that we've done one.
Yeah,
But-
2017 was the last one.
Was it really? Has it been 3 years since we've done one?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the last one we did that barley wine. I think it was a barley wine.
Yeah, I
just
was in
nobody
on that
liked
one.
it. And it just was like, nah, whatever.
Mhm.
To get back on your little, I remember talking to you every time you came into the store and all that. With when you do your barley wine, are you still using all that LME or DME to bring your gravities up, or did you kind of stop doing that?
Paulie, I always have, when I do the barley wines, I always have some DME handy.
Okay.
So that when I do my pre-boil gravity reading, I know if I should add some DME or not. Usually I end up having to add some if I want to get my gravity up to like a 1.12.
Okay.
It's that's a tough row to hoe to get all those sugars out of grain. Especially like if I had a system like George's with the recirculation, I could do a better mash out and get better extraction from the grain. Because my mash tun is almost full of grain, it's very difficult for me to raise the temperature of that at the end of the mash to get the viscosity of the liquid. So it's going to run out a little better and draw more sugars out of the grain with a hotter mash out temp. So I leave a lot of stuff behind in the grain, which is why I invite someone from the club to come over and we sparge it and they can use it for another beer.
Gotcha.
So, Dave, I was talking to.
Oh,
This happens a few times each show.
it does.
This
And
is
then
this is part of the problem of living in the area that George is in. Is his internet is less than perfect.
It's shaky. So, Dave, I was talking to Sean on the webcast here, and he was suggesting, especially for the Herm setup, to put in rice hulls. And I wonder if you did that, if that would allow you to pull out more of that, since it would kind of
every mash I do has rice hulls in it. I put rice hulls in every single time.
Then.
Every time.
Yeah.
It just is that if I do something like wheat, I put in more rice hulls, but every batch I do, I've got rice hulls in there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then you're ahead of me. All right.
I think I think you got the right idea with that. I mean, rice hulls can only help. There's really no downside to using it.
It's a little bit of absorption, but not much.
Yeah.
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 I mean, the only thing with the rice hulls, if I do a decoction, I don't put them in until my final addition so that I'm not boiling rice hulls when I'm doing the boiling of the grain for the decoction.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's a good point.
And then right before I dump the final decoction back in to bring it to the mash out temp, I dump the rice hulls in, stir it up, and then put the final decoction addition back in to bring it up to the next temp.
Jason and I did that once just to, say that we did it and talk about how it works. But I'm not sure that it's high on our priority list to do again, because it was a long day.
It was a very long day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were making a Pilsner, right? Is that the beer?
I think we were making a Pilsner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did two decoctions on that. So,
well, the thing, George, one thing with you having a Herm system is you can do a step mash, correct?
I can't. You'd think, but that with the way my system is set up, it's more about the recirculation and maintaining the temperature, because I actually use a sous vide to heat up my hot liquor tank that it circulates through. So to actually step it up to another temperature would be a little bit too far for the sous vide. Okay. So it's about maintaining the temperature and a consistent temperature and the recirculation through the mash tun.
But couldn't you accomplish the same thing? Well, no, because your sous vide is not in a boil kettle, right? It's in a
right.
Mash
it's in a hot liquor tank.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. If I may, given that I mash in a Gatorade container, for me to do any kind of step mash, decoctions become very handy. Like this triple was actually triple decocted. And if you mind if I talk about it?
Please.
Go ahead.
This is great.
One of the things you want with a triple is you want to get maximum fermentability. So what I did with the beer is I did a strike to hit like a temperature of like 131 for a short protein rest because I got a little bit of wheat in there, not a long one, like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then I pulled the grain out for a thick decoction. But when I heated it up, I only brought it up to 158, which is your
Saccharification rest.
alpha amylase temp. And then I tucked it in my oven and kept it at that temp for about 20 minutes or half an hour. So that what's happening is the starches are getting burst, the starch granules,
right.
so they're accessible. And then the big long chains of starch are getting turned into smaller dextrins by the alpha amylase. Then I bring it up to a boil for 5 minutes, only 5 minutes because it's a triple. You want the light color. Then I mix it back in the original batch. And what it did, it brought the temp up to like 145. So now your beta amylase is active, but you created all these dextrins from the alpha amylase chewing the starch. So now those beta amylase enzymes can attack all those dextrins, and you break it into an extraordinarily fermentable wort. Then you pull another decoction, and this is just to warm the temp up to 158, and then you do a third to bring it up to mash out. But the big thing is you can, by doing a pull out of the grain, you leave your enzymes in the mash tun in the liquid. The grain, bring it to 158. There's some enzymes in there, so you're breaking the long starches into dextrins. Those go back in. You warm it up to 145. It chews it up, and you get this very fermentable wort, and you get a nice dry triple.
Okay, so Jason, for everybody that's out there, let me break down the chemistry of that a little bit. So what he's doing is in his initial protein rest, he's creating a lot of long chain proteins that are really good and have a lot of potential to them, but are really hard to break down. And then he moves it over to the saccharification rest to break those down into shorter chain proteins that are easier to process.
Shorter chain. Hold on, George. Long chain starch is getting chopped into shorter chain sugars.
Right. Yes. You're right. Long chain starches are getting broken down into shorter chain sugars, and which are easier to process and everything. So you're taking that potential and you're making it easier to process. And then he goes to a beta rest, which then takes those short chain sugars, and turns them into what is that? Where does it go from there? It goes from short chain sugars to
monodisaccharides.
So right, okay, so basically even shorter chain.
Maltose,
exactly. So it's breaking it down into the base elements of sugars and everything, so that so then he's basically going through 3 different steps so that when the yeast gets to it, it can then attack those base elements and really absorb those, and the yeast doesn't need to break those down in order to metabolize them and
because
turn
it's
it
already
into
been
alcohol
done.
and CO2 and everything.
It's part of
because it's already been done.
Yep. Okay. No, I do.
Right. So that
makes sense.
Because like
so then your yeast efficiency goes through the roof.
Yeah.
Because they just have base sugars to deal with. That's a lot of effort, but I'm sure well worth it.
It is.
The thing, like, if I may, by putting getting it to 158 with the decoction, I didn't go through the temperature with the liquid of 145, 150, 155, which would denature or render the beta amylase ineffective. That's still in a separate pot in the liquid at 131 degrees. And then beta amylase can only work on the ends of the end pieces. It only attacks the ends of starch units or dextrins. So by breaking the starch into shorter chains, the beta amylase can attack multiple ends. So you're creating more ends for the beta amylase to work on, and then you're creating more of your maltose and glucose and sucrose that the yeast can then ferment out and make a really dry beer.
Right. So basically when he's saying a really dry beer, because they're able to attack those base sugars, there's less of that residual sweetness that is available, that is left over in the beer that the yeast couldn't metabolize.
Yes.
And that just dries it out. Probably, Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but to almost a pseudo champagne quality
Well,
in its dryness.
This was a 1.078 original, and it finished at
really
004.
dry.
Finished at
really
004.
dry.
I'm sorry, to finish
It
004.
went 1.078 to 1.004.
Wow, that's really dry.
Really
yeah.
dry, yeah.
What kind
I
of
like
yeast
it
did
that
you
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
use on that, Dave?
Yes.
What kind of yeast did you use on that?
My Belgian favorite, yeast 3787.
Okay.
Oh, I love that one.
I think
That's
that's
a great
Trappist high
one.
gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever tried the Omega Saison sign? That thing chews everything up.
No, I have not. The only Omega yeast I've used has been the Lactobacillus when I did a kettle sour.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Every time I do the Saison that we do, the Saison sign monster, like I think it goes down to 00 something. It's never been anything below 00 something, no matter what we put in there. It just chews everything up.
Yeah. But getting back to George, Jason, and I'll to stop with this, but for me, the decoction provides me, it's not so much it's kind of old school, but using decoction, there's a lot of ways I can manipulate a mash that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do since I'm mashing in a Gatorade beverage container.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's no school like it, man. Sometimes the old school stuff is the best way to go. So, I totally get why you're doing what you're doing. Like I said, it's a ton of effort, but it is, if you're looking for something that's going to be able to be just fermented down to nothing and be really dry, that's the way to do it.
I think we framed this really well in terms of doing the work ahead of time before fermentation, and a lot of these things by breaking down the sugars during the decoction and mash process. This is something that can make fermentation a whole lot easier and more efficient. So I think we've covered this in good detail, and I think this is a good takeaway for the homebrewer listeners out there.
Yeah. This is definitely a more advanced technique, but it is.
It is. So,
yeah.
So to close this out, plan a long brew day. Bring a buddy, because there's a whole lot of stirring that happen.
I only have one concern. So we did two decoctions because we had 2 brew dogs.
You'll love this.
And the amount of brew dogs you have limits the amount of decoctions that you have. So I have to ask, how many brew dogs do you have on an average brew day?
Brew dogs? As
my
dog hanging out with me, or some disaster that happens during the day?
No, as in your dog hanging out with you.
Well, I have a 115-pound Swiss Bernese mountain dog named Lincoln.
Okay.
And awesome dog. Really cool dog, too.
To be fair, that's like 5 of my dogs.
George, my wife and I moved into a townhouse maybe 14 years ago, and it had an unfinished basement. And we put a little kitchenette in the basement. That's where I brew. And we did a kitchenette so that it's a brew area, or we can also use it for entertaining. Like if we have family over for Thanksgiving, you got another stove to go to and everything. Our dog has a tendency to eat things. Like if he comes across a rag or a towel or a hat, it's gone. So I see that look, Jason. That little wrinkle of the brow. That's just, every dog has their quirk.
I get it.
It's true.
And there's going to be a quick story with this if you don't mind. So he's not allowed in the basement unless he happens to scamper down the stairs in some clandestine mission of his. So we go to this park every morning with him called Catherine Legge Park. It's in Hinsdale, just off County Line Road, north of Plainfield Road. Beautiful park. It's not a dog park, but they just let dogs in certain time of the day. Well, about 2 years ago, there's a woman there. She has a knit hat on with a little poof on top. And her dog started doing something, and she darted in her seat, and her hat fell off. And my dog, Lincoln, swept in and picked it up, and he ran off with it. And I'm trying to get a hold of him just so he doesn't shred the thing. And all of a sudden, it just disappears. So this huge knit hat with a poof ball on top he swallowed the dang thing whole. So we had to go over. I took him over to ER. There's a place, Arboretum View. It's right where 355 and I-88 intersect.
Okay.
And they give him a shot in the butt and make him, barf up. And they had to give him a couple shots because they didn't think it was going to make it out. But he's of legend and lore now in the hospital there. We've brought him in there a dozen times for swallowing something he shouldn't. But as soon as I walk in, it's like, oh, there's Lincoln. He's the one that swallowed that knit hat with the puff on top a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Reminds me of that internet video I saw of this poor little puppy that ate like a dozen balloons and had to hork them back up.
Oh.
And it kind of reminds me of that. But
so needless to say,
man.
Lincoln is not allowed down into the brew area because I've got hoses and rags and towels and gloves and things that are on the floor and on the counter. And he's big enough, he can counter surf. Yeah. So
yeah,
he doesn't come down there with me.
I'm guessing that lady didn't get her hat back.
Here's the interesting thing. Every time I've been into this Arboretum View emergency dog hospital, they always come out with the item they've retrieved in a baggie and ask if we want it back. It's like, no. I don't want some vomit saturated, head garment back. No way. Yeah. But he's a great dog.
I feel like this story.
He's never joined me on a brew day though.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than the whine and cry at the top of the stairs of the basement. Yeah.
Oh, poor
I
buddy.
always met Lincoln.
Yeah, I met Lincoln. Lincoln's a really cool dog. He is. I mean, I always thought he was a Saint Bernard when you brought him in the first couple times because he kind of has that Saint Bernard look to him to a point. So, but yeah, Lincoln is a really cool dog.
Nice.
Yeah. Let him run around the store. No, don't let him run around the store. All the grain will be eaten. You'll run on a 2-row Golden Promise real quick.
I love, George, that we're taking that we're keeping that story about the brew dogs to the decoctions alive.
It's the rule, right?
It is.
Yeah. Although in Lincoln's, with respect to Lincoln, we probably have to modify it to a certain amount of pounds of brew dog, because
that I think you're onto something. Yes.
Yeah. Because I've got 2 corgis and they're about 25 pounds a piece. So
Tricolor or tan?
I got 1 tricolor and 1 red.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
A neighbor of ours has a little itty bitty puppy. It's about 12 or 15 weeks old, tricolor corgi. It's just adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, they're super cute when they're that age.
Great dog. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. I think we got it, guys.
Yeah.
I think we got it.
Let's round it up.
An absolute pleasure, Jason. Nice to meet you, George.
Dave, yes. Thank you so much for joining here. This was awesome as always. No, I'm glad we got to do this.
Yep.
All right.
I'll gladly talk decoctions and barley wines any day.
All right.
All right.
I have no doubt it will come up again for sure.
Okay.
All right. We do our webcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't wait until that time to see us again, check out our backlog on our YouTube page. It has all of our past episodes. We have an audio podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all those places you get your podcast from. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com, and our social media links are A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to hearing to being here next week, doing more shows, and happy October to everybody. And before we sign off, we always close out by saying, and raise a glass, it takes a lot of good beer to make great beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.